Good morning. I just drove through a little town called Cooke City, Montana, and there's kind of something interesting about Cooke City, Montana, and that is that you can't get there without going through Wyoming. Cooke City, Montana made me think about something, and that is sort of the nature of our self-concept and how we form our views of ourselves through our relationships with our environments and other people. We have to go through other people or other circumstances in order to form our view of ourselves. Just like, Cooke City, you have to drive through Wyoming, even though it thinks of itself as being in Montana. You can only arrive there by traveling through Wyoming. So how does this connect to ego? Well, the way we view ourselves as individuals is usually based largely in childhood on how other people tell us we're supposed to be or should be or expect us to act or things of that nature. We kind of gauge through other people's reactions the way we think we are supposed to be or who we think we are supposed to be. What mom and dad said, what your teachers said, what your family or friends kind of thought. Oh, you get good reactions for these things, bad reactions for these things. You form your sense of self to say, I am good at this, I'm bad at this, I get rewards for this, I shouldn't do this. While all of these things are kind of just somewhat arbitrary, they are experiences that go on. That person's perspective or instruction might be helpful, it might not be. It might be true, it might be false. But what we tend to do is we start to accumulate these perspectives, these thought forms, whatever they might be, and we integrate them into our view of ourself. And then as we go through our lives, we get older and older, and all of a sudden we are adults in our 20s, 30s, 40s, and beyond, and we are acting in these patterns that we have told ourselves are us. We said, well, this is who I am now. I do these things, and I am this way, and I'm good at this, and I'm bad at that. All of those thoughts, though, all of those ideas are formed via relationship with other people or events, right? That can sound kind of abstract, so let's be specific here. The way we view ourselves as individuals, that egoic self, that I am good at this, I'm bad at these, I do these things, this is who I am, is a bunch of ideas that we have repeated to ourselves enough times and bounced off of our environment. So we test out our ideas and we say, well, will these people treat me this way? Or what happens if I do this? Or what happens if I do this? And then through the reactions, through the reflections we see in our environment, through the ways other people treat us, we decide who we are. We get to us via them. And you might say, oh, well, what's the problem with that? And there's not really a huge problem with that as long as we are aware of where our sense of self and what we are good at comes from in the first place. If we are running our lives based on that egoic sense of self, and many, many people are, we have thoughts like, well, I need this to be this way, or I have to do this, or this person's going to think that. I need this result, or I can't have that, or I'm afraid of this, or whatever, I don't want that. All of those things at their core are ideas. They are just concepts that we have tried to test in reality through other people, through the way people treat us, through the reactions we have seen in our environment up till now, through our past, not of course our future because we can't see that, and not necessarily even our present. They are past preconceptions, not even who we were, but things we did, or things that happened near us, or things people said to us. And strangely, when you actually look at your ego, that sense of like, my limitations, the things I can't do, I'm afraid of that, I'm not that kind of person, or even the limitations that are, I am the type of person who does that thing, I'm a worrier. All of the limitations we associate with these thought forms are intrinsically bound to the past. They aren't presently real. They are concepts of things that happened long ago frequently that we carry with us and say, well, I reacted that way that one time or that handful of times. And that means that is who I am, which means now in the present, I need to apply the blueprint of who I am to what I should do. We break down past events, those things that are not us, because of course, how could they be? They're just events. And we look at how we reacted in those events, and then we kind of build that into a concept and say, I am this way. And then we use that as a lens through which we try to interpret and act in future situations. This can cause a lot of confusion and stress because we are acting out of past patterns in present situations where the past patterns might not even be relevant. And this is why you end up with people with challenged attachment styles or inability to connect in relationships or past trauma that affects them decades and decades later. It's not the event that's still going on. It is the story. It is the concrete I am this way based on the past story. We get to that version of ourselves. We get to who we think we are through the things that have happened to us, through the things in our environment. And then we decide, well, I am this way because of those things. I have to be this way. And we apply that concept to what we do now, which perpetuates, then we have further evidence. We say, oh, well, I really must be this way because I did that thing again. But who are you really? Who are you outside of all of that programming, all of that conditioning, all of that past story that says, I need to do this, or I have to be this way, or I gotta do these things because I'm this way, because my mom did this, or my dad said that to me. All of those stories are reasons we act certain ways, or so we tell ourselves. They are the reasons we have to do things. But those limiting stories in the past are not real now. Right now, if you're watching this video, nothing bad is happening to you. But your body and mind are often tricked from our subconscious patterns, from all the negativity we have running through ourselves. We can be in a perfectly good moment. Nothing's wrong. Everything is fine, and we feel like we're in fight or flight mode because those stories running on autopilot. Oh, you gotta do this. Oh, limitation. What if that person says, oh, something bad about you? Oh, they're talking about you. They're gonna think this. You gotta make sure about that. Oh, worry about that. But if you actually look around, nothing's going wrong. Be aware of that in your own life. Look to those moments where you find those things that you think are limits, those thoughts that say, I can't do that, I'm not that kind of person, it didn't go well last time, what if this bad thing happens? And realize that those are our attempts to project our view of self onto the present. We try to filter what we think will happen based on who we think we are, but who we think we are in and of itself is intrinsically only formed by our judgments based on past experiences and what other people have said about us and things that have happened to us, not even necessarily the things we have done. We often stack up a bunch of things that other people have said or even things we think other people might think. I know they say nice things, but they really don't think those things about me. Then we build that into our sense of, well, I am not a very good person at these things and I'm not very reliable and blah, 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 blah. Then we start to act like we think we are. It's very complex, but it's just a twisted thought pattern based on projecting those past stories, those things that have happened to us years and years ago, into who we think we need to be, and then repeating those patterns over and over. Free yourself by asking, who am I really? Is that actually true, that those limits really exist? Or do I just think they exist and then I let that be the lens through which I view reality? I'm gonna go check out this national park. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't seen it yet, check out this video right here on letting go. Kind of goes more into the mechanics by which we can free ourselves from these tangled up emotional patterns that so frequently run our lives even if we don't even know they're there. Thanks so much for watching. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.